legitimate dispute to his claim as the kingpin of the division.
What did you make of the scorecards?
Way too close. 15-13. The possible range of scores in that fight are 16-12 to 18-10. And unlike Lomachenko and Haney, where you had a ton of swing rounds, there were very few swing rounds here. The rounds were pretty obvious.
What went wrong for Josh Taylor tonight?
Was that?
What went wrong for Josh Taylor tonight?
He looked flat. He looked unimaginative and slow compared to Teo. And he's not making any excuses. You have to wonder how long, how much did the layoff affect him. But even then, he had a close call against Catterall. So, maybe there are reasons for that. Maybe he's been at the weight too long, and sometimes that can happen to a fighter if he's been at a certain weight his entire career at a world-class level. Or maybe he just ran into a faster, better fighter.
Max, looking forward to the next undisputed fight we have July 29th. Spence Crawford, we finally got it.
It's the best sporting event that can be made.
How does Spence deal with Terrence's switch hitting and vice versa? How does Crawford deal with Spence's pressure and body?
That's what is there to find out. The tough thing for Crawford is that Spence has a very high work rate, and we've seen Spence win behind a jab and defense on a world-class level. He's also a real hard hitter, and he's twitchy, and he's very aggressive. So usually Crawford likes to study a guy for a couple rounds, and then he kind of, okay, now I got it, and then he does it. But against Spence, you might have to hurt him or knock him out, because you turn around, and if Crawford messes around, he can be down 4-1 after 5 rounds, and not against the guy who's looking to survive, against the guy who's looking to beat you up. On the other hand, Spence also has to worry about the fact that he's been through a lot in his life so far. And Crawford, although he also has been really about boxing for a lot of years now. Usually that guy will have the advantage in the moment of truth. And Crawford's always made adjustments. He's probably the best adjusting fighter in the sport.
But to push back on that, Spence has been through a lot, but have you seen any deterioration in his game overall? Or?
Deterioration is hard to say, but there's been deterioration. I can't say that. I can't say there's evidence for that. I can say that he hasn't. I'm trying to think of what's Spence's most impressive outing, right?
Maybe Kell Brook.
Kell Brook, because Kell Brook did his best to Kell Brook was coming off an impressive performance, though it was a loss, where he got his face broken, right, in a higher division. But Spence really applied himself very well in that fight. The Sean Porter fight was a modern classic. But then again, Sean Porter, though he was a little fresher at the time, gave Spence a better fight than he gave Crawford.
So what do you think of this Saudi heavyweight tournament?
I think that that the Saudi investment fund is sports washing their human rights record, and they've done it in golf and they've done it in boxing for a while now.
Max, what do you think of? I know everybody's pretty much saying that the winner between Spence and Crawford should be pound for pound number one. But what do you think about any way unfolding? Should that winner?
You could argue. No. You could say that it depends. Let's see how everybody looks. But Spence and Crawford, whoever wins that fight, especially if it's a great fight, is clearly the best pound for pound fighter in the world. I like Stephen Fulton a lot. He has not proven yet what Spence and Crawford have proven. He just hasn't been around as long at that level. And he's I like Fulton a lot, very well-rounded fighter. I usually like the twitchier guy there, and that is Inoue. He is the kind of explosive athlete guy. But let's see, if Fulton wins, or even if he loses well, if he acquits himself well, maybe I'll feel differently. But right now, winner of Spence Crawford is.
Max, what do you think of the performance of Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia and the outcome of what happened overall? Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia.
Let's leave the rehydration clause and all that stuff alone, because I admire what Ryan Garcia did. What he did was he made that fight. And in fact, I don't think it's a coincidence we see all these fights getting made in boxing now. Because what Garcia showed by example, because he could have milked his following, which is enormous, in easy money fights against guys he could beat forever if he really wanted to do it. It's not who he is. He wants to prove himself. So he made it happen. He gave up everything, not just because Tank is the bigger star, because that was actually debatable before the fight, but because that's what it took to make the fight happen. That said, it was clear in that fight that Tank is just a better fighter. Tank is an underrated, he's a little overrated by people who don't know boxing and underrated by people who do. Because he's a big star and he's a power puncher and all that, he's got a personality, but he's an excellent, very high IQ fighter. He sets traps, his feet are good, he has a bag, his toolbox is deep, and on top of that he can obviously punch.
Max, thoughts on Joshua against Wilder?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, see, I said not too long, and then I got 15 questions.
Good fight for Joshua.
This is what we've been waiting to see for a long time, and I haven't seen the Anthony Joshua that beat Klitschko, who on that night was a great heavyweight. He was a great heavyweight on that night. I haven't seen that guy in a while, and it's hard to imagine the guy I've seen recently getting through all 12 rounds without getting caught with a Deontay right hand. And one thing we know is Deontay hits you with the right hand, it's good night. So, but, Joshua at his best, on his best night, was a great heavyweight. And so it's in there somewhere. The question is it still in there?
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys.